2 years before the Werehog, Sonic 06 was intended to reboot and redefine the Sonic series. Since it didn't work out, composer Tomoya Otani was next assigned to assemble a soundtrack that would again redefine the Sonic series, this time on the premise of blistering high-speed action at miles per hour never before seen. We're talking Movie 1 turtle speeds, people. So the composer put his tempo where his mouth is. You can see that the tempos of Sonic 06 are topped by the unleashed beat per minute counts, climbing into the 200s on 2 occasions, including the very first level, Windmill Isle. With more than just a vanilla backbeat, this song's drum rhythms provide a great starting point for composers looking to spice up a beat beyond the expected snare drums on beats 2 and 4. The basic count of 1, 2, 3, 4 can be further subdivided into 16th increments, which we count out loud as 1E and a, 2E and a, 3E and a, 4E and a. The go-to articulation in the drum and bass genre starter kit is adding softer snare hits on the A of 2 and the E of 3. You may also hear a soft snare on the last possible slot, the A of 4. So let's now hear this in real time to the tempo of Windmill Isle's 200 beats per minute. And the 8th measure has this reverse snare effect, whooshing by like you just had a close call sidestepping a wall. But Sonic Unleashed isn't exactly the kind of pick-up-and-play experience of the kind that you can just bang out S-ranks right off the bat. So as soon as you start to get used to this beat, at the moment the lead melody begins, the drums take an abrupt detour that abandons the backbeat for these rhythmically disparate snares. Windmill Isle's first section cycles through these 4 chords, but doesn't provide a strong sense of resolution throughout. Things are always on the move, gravitating toward the next measure. It might be tricky to find the Tonic home bass 1 chord, but give it a shot. Now you might be inclined to select this C to be the 1 chord, especially looking at the way the melody is clearly centered around the notes of a C major triad. I dare you to tell me it doesn't sound perfectly resolved once it hits that C. C seems like a safe bet for the Tonic, yeah? Well, get this. I assert that the key of this song is in fact F, which means the home bass chord isn't included at all in this cycling set of chords. First, I'll try to persuade you with a sound test. Listen to how I play this chord set followed by an F major chord. Does it sound like a logical concluding destination? Still think the key is C? Well, careful not to mistake it for F, because remember that these 2 key signatures are direct neighbors on the circle of fifths, meaning these 2 keys share literally all of their notes in common except for 1, which in this case is B flat versus B natural. So an important source of clues that this might be in the key of F is to check which B the chords are using. Both Bs are avoided in the first chord, as well as the second. And I have to smile in recollection of the proto-launch bass composition, which had a lot of fun hiding its key by avoiding the 1 note that's the giveaway for as long as possible. We don't get anything until the 3rd chord, which delivers a definitive B flat, no bones about it. The same can be said for the last chord, because it also has a B flat. Read it and weep. So we can make further sense of this as being in the key of F by starting with the tonic chord and reverse engineering a rather conventional circle of fifths triad sequence. Now, as it happens, Sonic 3's first level has a section B that similarly avoids the 1 chord to cycle through the circle of fifths in the lead up. Check it out. So with this common thread, how does Unleashed's first level up the ante for this million-mile-per-hour gameplay style? By attaching stylized additives that whoosh by in a boosty blur to function as a sort of wind resistance. Slap 7s across the board. Majorize this D chord to function as a secondary dominant while qualifying as a chromatic mediant. And add a flat 9 on the C chord, providing a touch of dissonance that keeps the momentum going. This avoids presenting the C chord as a moment of any particular stability, since it is not the 1 chord. Now section B uses the same chords, but in a different order by just swapping the 2 pairs. So that's your assignment after watching this video. Compose a song with a section B that uses the same chords as section A, but ordered differently and with new melodies on top. If you keep at it and make every sidestep on cue, you'll eventually find the tonic chord of F. But true to form, the song downplays that home bass stability by quieting down the instruments for its delivery, and then immediately after launching into an improvisational solo. Yeah, you don't exactly stand around on elevators in these day levels. Admit it, you love that one part right there. I'd like to call your attention to this chromatically descending line that moves from the chord's 5 down to its 3rd. What's notable is that in a later level, Rooftop Run, there's a similar descending path, but the track couches this melody in more grounded chords, suggesting that Sonic and the player are acclimating to this game's blistering speeds as the new normal. The chords that present the melody here are largely diatonic, except for the second one that gets a Lydian 2-chord upgrade to become a major triad. So with all major triads across the board, it's time to break out the celebratory confetti. And the chromatically descending melody now has the maneuverability to add ornamental neighbor tones, and even at times outlining triad chords. Like Windmill Isle's melody on a C chord in second inversion, Rooftop Run now does the second inversion dance on an A major chord, which this time around is the song's 1 chord, providing the definitive stability that was always just out of reach among the Windmills. With such bright chords and encouraging melodies so thoroughly grounded in the tonic, this seems like it could work as the second last level of the game, to celebrate the fact that you've made it this far as an uplifting party before the final battle, like getting funky at Stardust Speedway right before the finale. Of course, Rooftop Run is not the second last zone in Unleashed, however it happens to be second to last in Generations, where I first experienced it, but we'll get to that. Compared to Windmill Isle's 4/4 time, Rooftop Run opts for the briefer cycle of 2/4 time, as you hop from building to building, totally free of intersections and stop signs. The snare locations form the double time format of hits on the end of 1 and the end of 2. While it might seem strange to put these important snares all on syncopated in-between spots, keep in mind that a basic 4/4 backbeat also technically has snare syncopation on the weak beats of 2 and 4. Upping the ante from the streets to the rooftops, the next game, Sonic Colors, pushes further into the sky, with 2/4 double time at interstellar speeds. Take off at the speed of sound. You know how this game has padding? compensating for the fact that it takes forever to develop these massive day levels for this blistering speed gameplay style. When you don't have enough sun medals to advance the story, here you are running through these zones built for blistering speed, and you have to come to a stop like a jerk to find Donkey Kong 64 collectibles. It's this I'm reminded of when considering this particular chord set, because all the other chord roots in the song rise above the tonic home base, except for this little detour in section B that comes up from below with a Mixolydian 7 chord. And in the final bass ascent of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we get a traditional diatonic 2-chord minor triad, demonstrating that an earlier Lydian 2-chord need not dictate which triad the 2-chord has to be for the entire song. The more options the better, you feel me? To tie it all together, we'll examine the song's drum turnaround as derived from the Amen break, which is totally separate from the Amen cadence seen at Chrome Gadget. That's just the 4-to-1 chords. The Amen break is a drum line that became one of the most sampled audio clips in the history of all music. The drum pattern we heard at Windmill Isle is itself derived from this sample, and you can find it all over the Sonic series, especially in Otani compositions like Hang Castle. And quicker at Aquarium Park. The source clip is from the 1969 song Amen Brother by the Winstons, an arrangement of a traditional hymn. The song took 20 minutes to arrange, so quicker than some Werehog levels. They even added this drum solo to pad out the track to a robust 2.5 minutes. And it led to this iconic rhythm, with the signature touch of a syncopated push on this snare. So instead of landing on beat 4 like normal, it has a quick delay to land on the and of 4 instead. The Winstons proudly present the Amen break, Mario 64-ified. This beat became an anchor of the drum and bass genre, while also appearing in mainstream hits like NWA's Straight Outta Compton, and more importantly in the Futurama theme song. So here it is in Rooftop Run, with a snare on the and of 4 and all. And we can find it all throughout the Sonic series, even with the snare's syncopated push. It's literally the first thing you hear when you boot up Sonic Heroes. And dude, Otani's composition for Sonic 06's Wave Ocean The Inlet has the Amen break played under the riff from Wayne Smith's song Under Me Slang Tang. Did Otani Venmo Wayne and the Winstons for their participation in this track? No, he did not PayPal them. And the legends say that the Winstons' bandleader and drummer never received any royalties for any number of thousands of tracks that used it. But there's a silver lining, that Otani knew just the right beat to use as a rhythmic jump scare when he was commissioned by Nintendo to do an arrangement for Smash Bros. Ultimate of a Splatoon composition. And believe me, that sentence got a thorough fact check. But alright, although the video's not over, there would be rioting on the streets and rooftops if I didn't mention the Generations remix. Look, the modern one is one of the greatest things I've ever heard, but I'm not going to sit here and gush for pander's sake unless I have a useful observation or a takeaway for aspiring composers. You'll notice this channel does not have autopilot peek under the hood videos, where you comprehensively summarize all the chords and melody lines in a book report manner for its own sake. The magic and mystery of these incredible compositions ought to be preserved, and I am always looking out for you. The magic Generations provides includes a delightful overload of a certain stringed instrument, proving your mom right once and for all that there's too much violins in games. See how I credited the person for that bit? This game has a track that joins the ranks of Sonic 2's Death Egg, as a song you stand around in place in order to hear, the Collection Closet's remix of Door into Summer from Knuckles Chaotix. But oh man, the modern remix of Rooftop Run is triumph incarnate. The kind of song you listen to while walking out of a lecture hall after a difficult final exam that you know for a fact went really well. One thing the violin brings out is a more detailed ascension to the tonic, which captures that rush of zooming to the top of Big Ben. In the modern version, the inverted chord melody is intact with the 3 that's part of the tonic chord. And if Sonic had a rough transition to 3D, Generations provides a smooth D-transition back to 2D, because in the classic level, you guessed it, the 3 becomes, well, the 2. And compared to the source composition, the classic version has more pronounced chords. It's possible that this 3 was actually an inverted tonic chord in the original soundtrack, but the Generations arranger felt that 3-chord vibe and so played up the leading tone at this moment. If the original song actually does have an inverted tonic chord, perhaps some of you would want this notation, which begs the question, what would meanwhile be used for a major tonic chord with a note attached that's 9 semitones from the root? Go to your room and think about that. The rest of us are busy thriving in a new era of music theory communication with consistent logic and the clarity that results, instead of undertaking loans with interest for tuition money for the privilege of memorizing contradictory misnomers. Nah man, that time is better spent on getting hyped for Shadow Generations. Will it have new Rooftop Run remixes? Maybe we'll be able to play as Maria, running on orange roofs, as this level is called in the OG JP release, Sonic World Adventure. Keanu Reeves might have the inside scoop. Time will tell. Good night, everybody!